We are live. Good morning, everybody from New York City, as well as from Connecticut and Florida. We are going to wait a couple minutes as people join in, and we are excited to talk about the retirement plan you didn't even know existed. Travel Advising 101. So while we're waiting for everybody to come in, we'd love to hear where you're joining from today. So we'll do intros later, but I can tell you if you're looking at us on the panel, you've got me here in Fora headquarters, New York City. You've got Martha in Wilton, Connecticut, and you've got Sharon in Florida. So we've really got the East Coast covered. We're excited to see where else people are. We were just saying before we came on that New York feels like Orlando today. It is super hot, but it is also my favorite season, and you will get no complaints from me. I love it. It is also very busy travel season. So for those of you who are thinking about travel advising as an option for retirement and second careers, I will say, boy, did you pick a good time, because there's a lot of travel to be planned. Not enough people to do it at the moment, because I feel like the whole world is on the road right now. So it is definitely a busy, busy travel season. And we're excited to talk to you guys about this. I'm sure some of you know what travel advising is, and some of you may have not heard of it. So we're excited to explain a bit about sort of the background of us and the company, and then also have Martha and Sharon talk about their stories. And so I'll be moderating, but if you guys have questions for them, feel free to throw them in the comments, and we will get to those at the end if we have time as well. All right. Why don't we kick off a little bit? My name's Henley Vasquez. I am the co-founder of Fora, along with my co-founders, Evan and Jake. And so in this session, we're going to uncover the potential of using travel advising, travel agenting. People sometimes are confused about the difference, and I always say it's the same thing. The industry kind of rebranded it as a travel advisor. Travel agent, though, is just as good a word, but as a smart retirement strategy. So we have seen a lot of folks that are coming in and going, you know what, like, I've retired from my first job and I'm ready for something that is moving me into retirement or moving into a second career. And because of that, we are joined today by two of our top four advisors, Martha Pearlstone and Sharon Iannone. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And they're going to be sharing their personal experiences, insights, also, most importantly, the practical steps to help you use this passion you have for travel to prepare for a fulfilling and secure retirement. Because let's be real, when you leave a first job and you're thinking about what's going to carry you through. I mean, I remember Sharon and I being on a Virgin Voyages cruise, and she was like, I'm going to sell cruises so that I can just keep going on them myself. Like, how do we, as people, as women, and as people who are entering a different phase of our life, think about financing that second part of our life? Because you know what? Retirement ain't what it used to be. There are lots of folks out there with still tons of energy to do a different kind of job. And we're here to talk about it. So I want to tell you a little bit about Fora and myself, and have Martha and Sharon introduce themselves, and then we're going to jump in. So here's a little bit of background about Fora first.
Fora advisors do a lot, and it's hard to define who is a Fora advisor, because it could be really anyone who loves travel and wants to turn their passion for planning travel into income, whether it's a new career, whether it's a side hustle.
I joined Fora for a few different reasons. Not only for my love for travel, but also for storytelling. And I also love to create experiences for friends and family. That's kind of like the best part of it. As I came on board, I realized I loved it even more because of the community.
Fora provides so much in terms of your back end and your support that they're making it almost impossible to not succeed as an advisor.
You're becoming an entrepreneur when you're becoming a travel advisor, and we're here to support you along the way. We're going to help you with commissions collection, email marketing support, content creation, and we're investing a lot of money and time to make this easier for you so you can focus on the fun parts.
I think for a lot of people, the last couple of years has sort of been like, what's my next act? Fora's given me that.
Yay! So that's a little bit about the company, and I'll tell you a bit about myself. I'm one of the co-founders of Fora, but I have also been a travel advisor my entire career. I sort of fell into this almost by accident. I was part of the founding team at a company called Indigare. Ended up learning how to become a travel advisor that way, ended up founding my own small agency, and then well, I'm a hotel junkie. I think that's part of my bio. But basically, I said there's nothing else that I'd ever rather do other than this. But I also want to bring more people into this industry and evolve a little bit of how it's done. And that was the genesis of Fora. But I am like career travel agent and proof that you can start this. You can have no background and you can learn how to do it, I would say, like pretty well. And so same head of our advisors too. So Martha, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I actually have spent my entire 30+ year career in marketing. And, the last full-time position I had a year ago kind of imploded, and it was a startup. I kind of was freelancing and starting to think about, what would I really want to do at this moment where I had a breath? So, I kind of poked around. I kind of came across you guys, and that's, I just took a leap and I was like, let me check into this. And then it kind of was like this, I jumped on this freight train, and it's like you said, I mean, it's been a crazy, crazy ride, and it's only been about 7 months or 8 months, and it's been fantastic. So yeah, so far so good.
Yay. Sharon, how did you decide travel advising was your next step?
Sure. Thanks, Henley. So for me, similar to Martha, I've been in the corporate world for 35 years now in the IT space, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do after I retire. And I always wanted to start a side business, and I had a hard time figuring it out. And I am an avid cruiser. I'll hit number 45 this year. So I kind of said, no brainer. This is something that I love. Let me turn it into something that I can help others with. Everyone always came to me asking me for advice on cruises and where to go and how to do it. I said, a light went off. And I just said, let me find out how I can do this. And sure enough, back in end of last year, I said, I'm going to go for it. And I was actually with another host prior, and it just wasn't a good fit for me. And when I was disappointed, I found Fora, and I just was a perfect fit for me. So that's where I landed.
Well,
Yes,
we're so glad you did. And I think it's really interesting, like so much of our sort of our like how we see ourselves in the world as women has to do often when you're working with your job. And so for both of you guys, you've come from outside of travel, and then you are now imagining yourself in this new role and sort of in a new world. So Sharon, after 35 years in the corporate world, like how has becoming a travel advisor helped you like think about your future self and sort of inform what you think will be those next steps?
Sure. So like I had said, I had been looking to start something, that would carry me into retirement for quite a while, and it just didn't find it until, I said, oh, this is going to work out. Travel advising in my travel business is one of the tools that's in my retirement tool set. And I plan to retire in probably about 5 years, I hope, if everything goes as expected. And I want to travel more. I'm going to have the time. I want to travel more. So, hey, how do I fund that? How do I, continue working in something I love? Because I don't want to sit idle when I retire. I'm a type A personality. So perfect. It just worked out. So I said, let me get that started now. So by the time that comes, I have built my book of business, and I have, a solid client base at that point. And it's hard work now doing both, but it's so worth it. And I just get so much fulfillment out of it. So.
Now, Martha, when you were thinking about, okay, so you're winding down your marketing role at the other startup, did you think like, oh, travel agent, this is going to be my next step?
No, and really similar to Sharon, I think, and probably a lot of people who probably start to enter their 50s and they start fantasizing about, wow, what's my next thing down the road? It's not going to be immediate, but sometime down the road, what's that going to be? And same sort of thing. I was sort of like a frustrated entrepreneur my whole life. And I think that for me, when this opportunity presented itself, it kind of brought the idea of travel advising. I mean, I think like a lot of people, I assumed that was not really a viable direction. I thought, oh, everybody has the internet, and, they can just do their own planning now, like I had been doing. And I think only when I started doing it did I realize, talking to my clients, how the double-edged sword of the internet, right? It's like on the one hand, everything's accessible. On the other hand, it's extremely overwhelming to so many people. So the responses I've gotten from people when I say that I'm doing this now is like so enthusiastic and like, oh my God, thank God I have somebody who can help me. So that was really surprising to me.
Yeah, it's that double-edged sword, right? If there's so
Yeah.
much information out there, but like who's going to curate it for me? Particularly if I am either overwhelmed, don't feel sort of educated, or I'm just busy and I need somebody else to take care of it. So what though, Martha, as you were getting started, like what obstacles would you say that you sort of encountered as going, all right, so I found this, I think I'm gonna go into it. What are some of those like first obstacles that you think people should be aware of?
I mean, I think first of all, you've got to realize that it's not instant income.
Mm-hmm.
So there is not only sort of the initial training and sort of and which frankly, you guys make super simple and easy and quick so that you can start right away, which was amazing because then you kind of start the momentum sooner, and kind of keeps you motivated. But you're not seeing that income until those people have already traveled. So unless you've got people traveling and they're planning a month out, you're waiting a while to start to see any money coming in. So I think that that's something that people need to be aware of. And I think also just opening yourself up to doing as many different types of trip planning as you can. A lot of people said to me early on, oh, well, I'm going to just specialize in this, or you should just do that. And for me, I was like, I'm just going to do anything. I don't know, my brother he needs a car rented in Dallas. Sure, I'll do that. And you want to go to Southeast Asia? Great. I'd love to do that. Like, you know what I mean? I kind of wanted to try everything so that I can gain as much experience as quickly as possible, because I think that that's making me better at what I do for every single trip,
Yeah. And I do think this is one of those industries where there is so much, like I compare it all the time to riding a bike. Like you just kind of have to get on and pedal because you sort of learn it by doing it. You learn how to plan a Southeast Asia trip by doing it and by working with our partners and all of that, but having done it. But Sharon, I know you thought of this more as also like, yes, you can plan a lot, but as a niche. And so what would you say on your side are sort of the things to think about if you are interested in diving into a niche that you're really passionate about already? And are there benefits to that financially or otherwise?
So absolutely. So for me, my niche being cruises was really just a natural choice. I mean, I've cruised. The first time I cruised was in 1988 with my parents. So, I mean, I've cruised for many, many years. I know cruises. I love them. My passion for that, I think, just shows when I talk to clients and, friends, family, whoever it is. And for me, I think, one of the obstacles that I had to overcome was similar to what Martha had said earlier about is why is somebody going to book with me, but you realize quickly the value that you can bring to a client, and they are just so happy that you can bring that to them because, it's just easier for them and it's great for me. I just have a blast planning other people's vacations. And I think Fora has helped me gain confidence. I think that's been really important to me because we have access to our peers and their opinions, and we're able to bounce things off of them. And I've found that to be super incredibly helpful for me as I've started out my business.
Yeah, I think that community aspect is irreplaceable. I mean, whether you're looking for other folks who are planning cruises and that you can sort of like talk to and bounce ideas off of, or you don't know the first thing about cruises and you need to talk to somebody like Sharon who can tell you what's the difference between a celebrity and, a silver season. I think that is something we really pride ourselves here on and are very serious about, which is that like lots of people are going to do lots of different kinds of travel, and we need to support all of it. And that especially when you're thinking about this as like a next career or retirement plan, knowing that there's that flexibility to start in one niche, to move between different kinds of travel is really important, because also like, let's remember, like we're going to live really long lives. So our retirement plans often may shapeshift a little bit. And the things that having done this my whole career that I found are so great is that it's never boring because there's always something new to learn. Like I've done this like, and I still don't know, I'll never know everything. And that's really cool. But Martha, what other tools have you found within Fora outside of the community that have been particularly helpful, whether it's the training or the tech? What things have helped you get this job going?
Okay, I have to just gush a little bit about this because I have worked on several startups, and I know what it takes, especially when you've got a tech behind the scenes element to the brand. And you guys, I've never seen anybody sort of be able to move the tech forward as quickly as you guys have. I mean, the team is incredible, and the fact that they've built out so many intuitive and responsive resources for us in such a short amount of time. And I mean, I've been doing this for only 8 months, and the amount of new products digitally that have come out and the build out of the agent portal is just incredible. I mean, it just makes everything so much easier, so much more streamlined for us. And so while I might spend a tremendous amount of time on the research side of things, I have such easy access now to managing my client database, the supplier database, the payment structure. I mean, and the responsiveness of the support team has been phenomenal. Like, I can reach out to anybody at any time, and it's just shocking to me sometimes how quickly people will respond back, and they're so nice and so helpful. And I think that that's not something that we're frankly accustomed to or assume that we're going to get in a fast growing startup, especially where, everybody's working mean and lean, and, so it's really been an incredible surprise and helped me be far more successful than I think I could have been.
Oh, yay. Well, that makes us so happy here. Yay. I think it is like the tech and the tooling parts. It makes a difference. It's what makes one agency different than another. Yeah, this stuff is like, it's a lot of work to build. And none of it comes out perfect the first time, but that's why we love having you guys to help us test and iterate on this stuff to make sure that what ultimately is getting out there and in your hands is what you need, not like what some like dev team who doesn't know the first thing about travel advising thought a travel agent would need, which is like one of my beefs with this industry in general, is like people being like, here's this thing, it's going to work for you. And you're like, but it's not. That's actually not how we do our jobs at all. So having a team that like they themselves are booking travel too makes difference, because then we all have the same headaches together. And so I would love, speaking of headaches, Sharon, if somebody just as like, what would you say to somebody who's like sitting on this call going like, either I've known about this and I've been thinking about it, or like I wasn't really too aware of it. What would you say are sort of some practical steps to take if you're going, this might be a part of my retirement plan?
So I think, honestly, and from my experience, if this is something you're really considering, just do it. I literally had probably 20 seconds of insane courage, and I signed up and I did it. And I said, I don't know, maybe it's my personality, but I said, you know what, I'm going to make this work. And I did. And I honestly had absolutely no idea how successful I would be within, I joined in December, and, I've just recently made pro level at Fora. So, it's just do it. You will be able to deal with any mountain that's put in your way as it comes. And for me, it was time, because of my day job. I have a very demanding day job, and I'm doing this strictly in the evenings at night. And that was my struggle, but with good time management skills and the Fora training for goal setting was very helpful for me, because like I said, I jumped into this and I just jumped in head first. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing, help. And sure enough, that really set me straight. So the training that Fora provides helps you get over those humps.
Martha, same question to you. Practical advice to somebody who's like, I think this might be it. This is what I should do as my retirement plan. What's your practical advice for them?
I think I would say start soon, because I kind of looked at this as like, let me start now. Let me see if this is even going to catch on, if it's viable. And I thought, by the time I do eventually retire, like Sharon was saying, I hopefully will have then like a book of business, and I really will have built a reputation, and I can sustain something ongoing when I'm sort of fully retired, and something I can do from anywhere. But I think that takes time. And the sooner I think that you are able to jump in and start to build that, the more secure you're going to feel when you're ready then to kind of take it on as a retirement income.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say that I think people on the outside may not realize is this is like one of the few industries where there's like ageism isn't really a thing. So it's in general as an industry, it's tended to be a little bit older. It's tended to be people who have sort of like what we're doing differently is like we're saying bring new people in, but lots of people currently in the industry have like done this for a long time, and they are at or past retirement age and they're still plugging right away because they love their jobs. But something I think is like very cool is that there's no like, oh wait, you're not like part of the, hot 20 under 20. Like those people are doing this. You kind of like maturity actually really benefits you. And I would say as my advice to somebody who's thinking about this as a retirement plan, like think about the network that you have, because if you are ending one career and starting this as another one, you've got an incredible business network out there already. And those are the people that you want to reach out to say, by the way, I'm doing this now, because that's your first client. Like that's the first trip. They already know you as a professional. They trust you. And this is going to be how you start building up that business. And you don't want to take all of it on at once, especially if like Sharon, you still got like a very demanding job happening at the same time. But those are the people that will help seed this next career for you, which again, makes it just like a super cool place to be where you're like, doesn't matter that, I'm not 22 anymore. Like, doesn't matter that in fact, it benefits me because I know how to handle stuff now. Although we have lots of young advisors and they're great too, but like actually benefits me to have had this career before because I have a bigger professional network. So I think it is, I think it's a really great way to actually activate what you had previously, but to do it, go ahead and start doing it. What are you waiting for, right? Like life is short, but we're going to live long ones.
Absolutely.
So let's do it.
Absolutely. And our experience definitely helps us in, our experience in life in general just helps us plan for others. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear an inspirational story. So we're talking about the challenges and like how to think about the practical stuff. Like, tell me, Sharon, a moment, if you can think of like a specific one where you're like, oh my God, this feels so good.
So I've had several since starting this. Two of them that just stand out in my mind is when I booked that first cruise it was for a good friend, and just going through that and being able to do that and helping them get a vacation that I know is right for them and is going to rejuvenate them and, bring joy to them really, really resonated with me, because I totally believe in the power of vacation, whether you have a demanding day job or you don't. It doesn't matter. That rejuvenation from going away and coming back and living your life is just priceless. But the second one I will say is, hitting the level within Fora that, kind of takes me to the next level. So that was exciting because I did not think in 6 months doing it part-time, I was going to be able to hit that goal, and I shot for it and bam, I did it. So yeah, definitely achieving those goals.
Yay. Okay, Martha, any shining moments for you?
I would say that, every time I book a trip for a client now, there's always, when they leave for that trip, there's a little bit of like, I don't know, fear is too dramatic of a word, but a little like, I really hope that this goes off without a hitch, especially the more complicated itineraries where I've booked, transfers and tours and all these other things as part of it. But then getting the feedback, like, getting a WhatsApp from somebody while they're on their trip, or if I do a quick check-in and they're like, oh my God, the hotel was incredible. It was so perfect. It makes me feel so excited. And I feel like, oh yes, like I added value. You know what I mean? I think that for me, feeling like I added value, that they got something that they couldn't have maybe done on their own, is so gratifying. So, I think that that's for me is what makes this so exciting and fun. I just wanted to add really quickly, though, to something you were talking about before, which was about when you were talking about reaching out to your own network. And I have to say, I literally, the first day I got on a MailChimp account, I took every single email I had in all my email accounts and I blasted every single person. I don't even remember who was in those email lists, to be honest. And I have reconnected with work colleagues from 20 years ago. I've connected with, good friends who, and that's the other thing, being at this age and doing this, all my community, my network, they're all empty nesters. They've got disposable income and they're ready to travel. So that's the other thing that is, I think, really exciting about, using your network at this stage of life. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that it's been really fun to reconnect with people. And as you said, I think they trust me because they worked with me. They know what kind of person I am, and I'm detail oriented, or I have a certain standard, or whatever the case is, So.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a really good point too about the empty nester thing, is that we're talking about retirement here, as the idea of retirement from you had a full-time job, you're now transitioning into your retirement. But I think we should be really clear that there are full-time parents right now who will then have this space that they're able to work now, and they may want to come back into the workforce. That can be really challenging to do if you're a parent who's been home full-time and not in a professional workforce. This is a great opportunity for that retirement plan too, because your kids are gone, they're off in college now, you've got time and space, there's no more lunches to pack, there's no tutors to haul around, and suddenly, what do you do with your time? Now, first of all, sit back, relax for a minute, you've earned it. But second of all, if you are looking for that retirement plan, this doesn't have to be something where you go straight from one job into another. This can be something, not raising kids is a really hard job. Coming back into one that's that's paid work can be a difficult place, I think, for a lot of women. And travel advising is a great retirement plan for those empty nesters too, if they're the ones that want to plan the travel versus just being the ones that are on it. I see some questions that are coming in, and I want to give the panel a chance to answer some of these as well. So I'm going to jump into these. We'll start with Abby. So Abby said, I have a fairly large group trip coming up in October. This is a great opportunity to talk about group trips. How soon can one start booking travel for commission, and what kind of hotel discounts would I get as a Fora advisor? Okay, I'm going to answer the last part first, and then I'll bring in Martha and Sharon to talk a little bit about sort of when timeline of planning. So hotel discounts, no, this is definitely a working job. So you come in, you can book your own travel, but you really are here to be booking travel for other people. There's no just because you're a travel agent, you're getting a discount. If you become a very successful travel advisor and you're selling lots of travel, there are opportunities to do fam trips, which Martha and Sharon have both done, which are getting to travel with your colleagues and going on discounted. But I want to highlight really that this isn't kind of a thing where you get the card and suddenly you're out there staying for free. That's that's sort of not so kosher, but you can earn your way into incredible benefits, which is super cool. Now on to group trips. October may sound far away. It is not that far away. Sharon, when would you say you should start planning to do a group trip in October?
So in the cruise space, which is my niche, really last year, we'd be planning that last year. So planning a cruise group for October, I'd be asking the question, is that next year? So there is in the cruise space, you really do have to plan that in advance. Now, it's not saying that the cruise line couldn't accommodate it, but good planning practice would be in the cruise space at a year out or so, as much time as you can.
Yeah, I think you're right. Cruises are booking way up ahead. But Martha, since you've done a little bit more in sort of the hotel space, if you had a group who said, hey, we've got 10 to 20 people, I know you've done some big groups that want to be traveling in October, what's your advice?
I mean, first of all, where do you want to go? Because that's going to have a huge impact on availability. October is a great time to travel a lot of places because it's kind of shoulder season. You've just missed the high and it can be great. But there are also, because travel is so crazy this year, and especially in Europe, it's sort of bleeding into October. So availability is already getting tight in a lot of destinations. I think a large part is going to depend on what they're looking to do, what kind of trip, and where.
Yeah, and Abby, I think the important thing to know is that in order for you to be earning commission on the booking, you have to be the one planning and actually doing the booking. So if the group trip is happening in October, but they actually booked it in March, it's sort of hard to get involved now. But if they're like, I'd like to do this group trip, totally, like, get in there, you can handle it. You'll have the guidance and the guardrails to make it happen. But the sooner, the better, because you have to actually be the agent on record in terms of planning the travel. And we have lots of folks doing group travel. It can be a little complicated sometimes when you're planning it, but it's great to have a community that supports you. And obviously there's like a lot more commission when you're planning for a lot more people at once. Okay, Joanna, I am with a host based in Florida, but would like to be part of a host in New York. I'm wondering what, if anything, separates Fora from other hosts. So, I mean, there's lots of great hosts out there. I'm not going to throw shade on others. Lots of people doing things differently, but I can tell you a bit about what we think makes us stand apart. So for starters, we really, like, I'm here in New York, but we really are a community that is everywhere. And the thing that makes that super cool is that we're a larger community where you can find folks wherever you're based. I don't know if you're based here in New York, there's lots of New Yorkers around here travel advising. We've got Sharon and other folks in Florida. We've got them all over the place. So it's nice to have a community where you can connect with people in real life. Like, this is great, we're talking here. But also it's nice to have meetups in real life, and we can have those. The big thing, I think, for us is really our tech and our training. That's a challenging space for a lot of people to put in time to build. And we're really dedicated to it. We are building tools that are essentially based off of the stuff that I found most frustrating when I was starting my business and was running a very small agency. Like, I didn't have time to do any marketing, even though I knew that would get me more trips. Cool. So we give MailChimps pre-stocked with marketing materials, which you can just blast out or you can customize however you want. We give that to our advisors. I spent a lot of time chasing money, trying to get paid for trips that I had already booked. And we do that instead for our advisors. So our advisors just forward along the commission or the confirmation, and then we enter it so that you don't have to log your commissions and you don't have to chase them. We will do that for you. We will also tell you, this is a new thing, we just launched our block list. We will tell you if there is a hotel or a supplier, we're like, these people just aren't paying. We're gonna let you know so you can avoid them. The other thing too, our training, we do our training in groups, and it's very flexible. So when you join, you could be put into certification or advanced. And what you can do there is learn with a group of other people that are learning at the same pace as you. At first, when we started, we did this self-led, and we found, like, no, it's so good to be with others because you want to be able to talk to somebody who has that question along the way. You're already with the host, you probably know some stuff, but there's always more to learn. So it's nice to have that sort of group-based learning that's also available asynchronously. And then finally, it's like, sell travel how you want. Most hosts have a required, they sort of fall into two buckets. Either it's like, sell what you want, but things are kind of loosey-goosey, or like, we're a great agency, but you have to hit some really high sales targets to be a part of us. For us, we really come in the middle where we want to give you all of the tools and all of the structure and all the support, but we also want to support you because we know that, like, you might be working towards a full-time career later, but like, you've still got one right now, and you're going to sell one now and you're going to sell more later. You might be somebody who, like, maybe you have a great sort of book of business now, but you're having a baby next year, and there might be a few months where, like, you're not going to sell as much. So our flexibility in terms of meeting you where you're at, I think, is something very different than what's out there right now. And that was really a big part of why we started this.
If I may stress that last point, Henley, that was a big one for me for joining Fora and sticking here, because I was with another host and I did feel that they only wanted those big fish in the sea, and that's who they catered to. And that's not going to be me. You know, I'm not, I mean, I might be, my plan might change, but I felt very embraced here at Fora as a part-time business owner. So that was really great.
Yeah. And I think, remember that you are, like, it's your business. We're here to power your business, but you guys are the business owners. And so that's something where it's like, it's your business, do it how you want. Natalia's question is about for advisors that make full-time and livable salaries that aren't doing this as a post-retirement position. So I'll I'm gonna put you guys in on this, but I'll say, so A, yes, people are doing it full time, and B, I have done it full time for my entire career. So I did this prior to Fora. I wish I'd had the stuff that I have that we have now, but I have basically spent since I was 20 some years old, being a travel advisor and supported myself with that. Now, is this like the most lucrative job in the world? Like, no, it's not a hedge fund salary, but it really is a, like, you eat what you kill. So if you want to earn more money, sell more travel, and it's going to come. But there are absolutely people who do this full time and do make livable salaries, and I am one of them. Martha, do you want to say anything about that for full, like your thoughts about full time salary?
Yeah, I mean, that, and to be honest, that was a little bit of my thought initially too. I mean, I spent a lot of years in marketing, and I had a nice salary, and it does feel different to make a difference, seeing the numbers be quite a bit smaller than I'm accustomed to. But as you said, I think for me, I'm kind of trying to look at this a little bit of as a long game. I'm doing some freelance still, in between. But my goal is to sort of build my own small business and be my own entrepreneur. And as I said, like, kind of tapping my own network and continually growing that. And I can see the potential. It's never going to be what I used to make, but there are a lot of strategies that I've already thinking about that I have not even started to employ yet, in terms of whether it's, in some cases, adding fees. In other cases, it might be doing some targeting of certain types of industries, or, targeting small business travel, or, there are a lot of things I think that you can build onto your business to find ways to boost the income. So yeah.
Sharon, anything to add?
Yeah, just there are many peers that I interact with through Fora that are full time and choose to do it that way. That's the great thing, is if you want to do full time, you're welcome here. If you want to do it part time, you're welcome here. I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's what Martha said is true. It can be really scary to go from like a salary to commission. But we know it's possible because lots of people are doing it already. But also, if you want to look at like a similar industry, when you look at real estate, like different, obviously commissions are bigger because people are selling houses, not vacations, but they sell a lot less houses than you can book trips. But it's a good one where if you're feeling like, oh my God, is it really possible to like make a living on something that's commission based, and you need something else to look at, like look at real estate. There are lots of people out there who earn a living as real estate agents. And that's really one of the things that we looked at really when we were looking at Fora. We said, oh my God, there's so many real estate agents out there. And that is like a kind of a much more difficult job. You need a license. You got to like spend your weekends around like people's houses. I don't know, so you guys saw, there was like an article in the New York Times this weekend about like what it's like being like a woman standing alone in somebody's house and meeting buyers. So that like travel advising is much easier, but how do we get more people in this industry? Because there's a lot of real estate agents and very few travel advisors. So lots of opportunities to figure out how to earn income, but no, totally can be scary at first. And that is a good question, Heather, about how difficult is it to build your business if you don't have a large network of people. You probably have a larger network than you think, is the first thing that I would say. I know when I started my own agency at first, I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to get people to book with me? And it starts with like 1, 2, and then you do well with them. And it just sort of like snowballs from there. But it can be a little bit scary. But I'd say when you're thinking about that network, Sharon, what is one of the first things that you did to like connect to the network that you had to try to think about growing that?
So for me, being an avid cruiser and cruising multiple times a year, I would start Facebook groups for that trip. And I would interact with all of the people going on that trip for months prior. So these people are not in my network. I'm bringing them into my network. They're not friends. They're not family. I've never met them before. And I have to say my 3 biggest clients came from one of those groups on a trip I went on in January. And it's because I was knowledgeable about the product. I answered people's questions. So just get yourself out there. It's really meeting 1 or 2 people that can really jumpstart you. I've definitely found that for sure. And, providing them good service and knowing what you're selling. And it'll take it do that and it will grow from there without question. It multiplies. They'll tell two friends and they'll tell two friends. If we all remember that old commercial, that's true. So that's how it's been for me from my personal experience.
And Martha, how about you?
I mean, I will say, as I mentioned earlier, I took every email I possessed and I threw this message out there. And the response was great. So I'd say do that regardless, even if you think you don't have a big network, you'd be surprised. But I have very much of like this like entrepreneur mindset. When I go out to dinner, I went to a friend's birthday party recently. I stuck business cards in my little tiny cocktail bag. And I swear to God, I got new clients because people are like, hey, what do you do? And I say this, and everybody seems to have surprising reaction of like, oh my God, you're kidding. I'm going on a trip here and I want to go here. And I'm like, oh, great. Here's my card. And they reach out. So that's been really surprising. So I always have cards on me, which is funny because, you know, business cards seem so antiquated, but they work. And and referrals. I mean, I have one client who is a friend that I worked with 15 years ago. I booked one trip for her. She's referred 4 people to me so far. So, and I've booked 6 other trips for her. Like, I mean, it's crazy. So you just never know. The most random person that you happen to talk to might be this huge connection point. So
Really, those small nuggets.
Tell your doctor.
Yeah.
Tell your doctor, tell your dentist, tell your lawyer, anybody that you come in contact with, you let them know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
I think we have time for one more from, let's see, from Tara. Are there live leads? Oh, Tara, there are. Oh, I love talking about this. Okay. This is also, as per the question you earlier about different from host agencies, this is a little bit different in the way that we do this. So yes, we do have live leads, and we have them in 2 ways. One is you have a profile page. So when you join, every advisor has a profile page. So Martha and Sharon both have a page where they can upload thoughts about travel, their itineraries, their favorite hotels, their favorite cruise lines, all of that to showcase like what makes them amazing and why they should know so much about travel. So one thing they can do is like send it to people to show like, hey, I'm really doing this now. But the other thing is that our editorial team actually works with them on their content to optimize it for SEO so that people will find them. If they're Googling like best cruise lines in Greece, they might find Sharon and be able to reach out directly to her to say, hey, can you help me with this? So there's live leads that come in via your profiles. The other way that we do this is that our just the Fora website in general gets a lot of sort of incoming inquiries. And what we do with those is our in-house travel team. So our in-house travel team who works on with me on a lot of my clients, they vet those leads. So they go back to them and they send them a type form. Okay, we want to make sure these are like real people. And then we actually post it into our pros channel. So our pros who have hit certain sales and training milestones, we post it there. We post twice a day. Then people can go in and grab leads. And we have requirements of like, you have to like be able to get back to this person quickly. And you have to have booked this destination before things to make sure the consumer, the traveler is getting the right match. Like, cool, you should definitely talk to Martha about the south of France. She knows a lot about that right now. But also it gives a chance for our advisors to pick up some new business, which can be helpful if you feel like, oh, I'm like, I don't know, my friends aren't traveling right now. Like, how am I building up my network? And what we've seen from that, I mean, the data is super, super cool because what we've seen is somebody, again, that same thing. Somebody books a trip for that person once and then they keep booking with them. They refer new people. And we don't have a different commission split for those leads, which also is a little bit different from the rest of the agency world. That's your client now. Good luck. We're advisor first. We're not going to say you get a different commission split on that one. That's yours. Go forth, book, plan, earn, and have fun. So yes, I'm glad you asked that because I do think that's something I forgot to mention earlier, and it helps. And it's optional too. You can also be like, I'm super busy. I don't want any leads, but it's there if you want it. And the same thing on your profile page. If you are super booked or you're on vacation, you can actually update it to say like no vacancy so that you aren't getting new leads right now. So all of that very flexible, but there are ways to build your business as well from people that are like coming in from the outside that you don't know yet. And that might be your next best customer. Okay, we are at time almost. So just a little bit of details on Fora. If you are interested in joining, we there we go, our slides. So there's 2 ways. So you would, first of all, you would go in, you would fill out the application. The application goes into our list. We have a code word that we're going to put up in the next slide. Yes, right here. So code word is retirement. Put that in your application that says how you skip the wait list. The wait list is very long because we are really careful about who we're letting in, and it takes some time to vet everybody. But this will jump you up to the top so that our team can actually get to your application faster. So remember, code word is retirement, and then they will find you. If you get in, and we're so excited to have you in here, then there are two options. The payments, you can either do a quarterly payment of $79, that's billed every 3 months. It's less expensive if you do the annual plan, which is $199. I think the important thing to note here is that if you book an average of $240 a month in travel, you actually cover your costs. So you'll probably be fine. And this is really just, sort of covering your costs of getting all of your initial startup stuff. There's no additional fees for training or any of that other thing, which is a question that people have asked before. Like, great, that seems really affordable, but then are you nickel and diming me because I want to take another training course or I want to send a MailChimp? And no, that's it. Our point really is to help people like Martha and Sharon and all of our other advisors launch awesome businesses of their own. This has been the best career for me. And I'm so excited that I keep to get doing it for years and years, but also that I get to do it with amazing women like this, and bringing new folks in, that we build a stronger community with more people and more travel brains in it. And I want to thank everybody in the audience for joining. And Martha, Sharon, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us and sharing your stories. I do think you guys are so inspirational, and you're doing different kinds of businesses and doing it so well. And I'm so happy that, Martha, I get to see you here in the office. And Sharon, I want to go on a Virgin Voyages cruise again with you, please.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, that was my first cruise ever, and now I'm totally hooked. So Sharon, she's the one.
Yay.
Oh, all right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. Remember that code word retirement, and we hope to see you all in Fora soon.
Bye.
Bye.